backlog is a concept everyone seems to be talking about these days. I personally have a gaming backlog I know I'll never be able to finish. It already has above 1,000 games in it, just on PC due to family library share, but also to be fair because I'm an impulsive buyer and I really like supporting small devs. On top of that collection, I also have all my physical media games, which are my favorite part of my collection ever, and I hope physical medias never outright die. In this massive amount of games, there's a bunch of older ones. Retro games, if you will. It's the title of the video. And some of these are placed quite high on the backlog list. Now, most people tend to be somewhat anxious about their backlog and the fact that they'll probably never be able to finish it. That is not my case though. If anything, I feel like I don't feel enough anxiety about my backlog, but it's not today's subject. So let me know if you're interested to hear more about how I view the backlog in the comments, and maybe I'll make a video on it. The thing is, my ADHD makes it really hard to start tasks or any kind of activity. So while I don't feel anxiety about the backlog itself, I feel anxious about wasting my days or spending them only on working or scrolling, searching for that dopamine hit. I feel like with the current environment we live in, it's been made worse, and I sometimes feel like I'm rotting away in my room. And that's why this year, I decided I wanted to change. I think a lot of us do actually. That's probably why more and more people are going back towards retro, towards simpler times, towards nostalgia. And that's why I decided to tackle my backlog this year. I want to feel like a kid again. I want to play the games that make me happy in the same way I would have as a kid. With absolute naivety, without caring about how to play proper, without caring about having to go look up solutions online, and just being more excited about them. I want to do all those things again. I want to write again, read again, play again, but most of all, I want to try all these games I didn't try as a kid, even though I could have. So here's my priority retro games to play. Probably this year, maybe not. I'll take it one step at a time. Some of these I'll play on my own time, some of these I'll stream to you guys, some of these I'll make videos on, and some others I won't. But there's one thing I'm sure of, I'll play all of them eventually. W.I.T.C.H was a series of Italian graphic novels that became somewhat popular in Europe in the 2010s. The story follows Will and her friends after they become guardians, protectors of the barrier between the Earth and another parallel world called Meridian. Each girl has her own magic element, and their job is basically to keep evil out. It was of course inspired by Magical Girls, and it's often compared to Winx, a show that was airing at a similar time and that has some similarities with it. That one ended up becoming much more popular than W.I.T.C.H though. However, W.I.T.C.H was still a Disney property. It still had some popularity. It had its own magazines, which is actually where it started, and I will always remember that when I was a kid, my neighbor stole them from me. I remember you. You better give those back to me one day. W.I.T.C.H also had an awesome show, and apparently, I didn't know, but it had a video game. I only learned of it recently, and since my friends know I love W.I.T.C.H and it's a massive part of my childhood, one of them decided to send over the game for me as a surprise for Christmas. Shout out to Speaker, an amazing mod, for gifting it to me. And I have to play it, I don't have a choice. It looks like this one is a platformer, which I'm famous for being bad at, so I'm sure it's going to be a great time, and it's probably at the very top of my list. So you know those stolen W.I.T.C.H magazines I was talking about? Well, my friend, in quotation marks, had borrowed them in exchange for letting me try out their super cool GBA game. A green Game Boy Advance Pokémon game. Pokémon, my #1 hyperfixation since early childhood. They can never make me hate you. Even when I do hate you. I was a big fan of Pokémon at that point already, but I don't think I had already played a game. I'm not sure though. Honestly, memories of that time are pretty blurry as I was somewhat young, so I don't remember everything that well. And that's the thing, was that game Emerald? Was it Leaf Green? I'll never know, because I don't really remember it. I give them back the game after a while, but they never give me my books back, and I'm still very spiteful about it. Here's the thing though, I didn't finish the game. I started playing on an existing save file in which I was in a cave and kept getting lost. I believe I tried playing 3 or 4 times until I gave up and gave the game back. I never got out of that cave, which was probably around mid to late game because you had to roll boulders with a move strength to find your way out. The save file didn't have an escape rope either, so I was just stuck there, I guess. I really want to try to beat that game that made my younger self feel desperate because I was too young to understand anything about this game. And as I'm not sure which one of the two it was between Emerald and Leaf Green, I'll have to play both to achieve that goal. Unless I pull on the right one in the first try, which we'll see, I guess. If I had to pick which one it was, I do believe the game was Leaf Green because the graphical style feels more familiar to me than Emerald, but I can't be sure. All I remember about the game was it being in black and white, except I know for a fact it wasn't in black and white because it was a GBA game, so my memory is testing me. I don't remember any of the Pokemons on the file. Maybe that person had a Charizard, but I'm not sure. All I remember is that my annoyance was growing ever so steady as I tried this game out. Pokemon, 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 Pokemon. I know it sounds like the only words coming out of my mouth, but it was most of my childhood. That did mean that I was missing out on a lot of other medias though, as I wasn't at the time a video game fan. I was a Pokemon fan, so I only really started broadening my horizons in high school. Before that, I was always very fixated on specific franchises and watching anime. Hence, I never played a Zelda game before Breath of the Wild, save from the demo of Triforce Heroes on my 3DS, but that was like one time for 20 minutes maybe. My only exposure to The Legend of Zelda at that point was the Smosh rap, which I knew by heart and had as a ringtone as a kid because I thought it was the funniest thing ever. Looks like my humor hasn't evolved a lot since my current ringtone is Pregnant Sonic. All that to say, I feel like these games are really lacking to my repertoire. The lore and stories in the Zelda games look incredibly interesting, especially in a few specific ones. The ones I'm currently most interested in are Majora's Mask for its darker vibe and overarching story, but also Ocarina of Time, as it's also said to have a heavy story-oriented content and is another important classic, which I feel like I should play. I can't wait to discover this franchise as someone who has absolutely zero nostalgia for it, so I'll let you guys know of my thoughts on it. These are my priority retro games to play. It's exclusively Nintendo console games, as Nintendo was my whole childhood and I want to start there, but there are other games I'm interested in as well and that I may talk about in the future. I'll probably do a follow-up video at the end of the year to see what I did or did not play, or how I felt about it, maybe how I would rate those games, would I recommend them to someone who doesn't have nostalgia for them, maybe talk about other games on my retro backlog too. Do you guys have a retro backlog? If so, what's on it? Let me know in the comments, I want to discover even more games. As usual, Utstero, and have a good one. I'll see you on the next video, or on stream if you want to come say hi and see me play these games.